One, and you're on.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Problem Solver Politics live stream. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with none other than Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah. Man, we always get these rough starts. We're gonna have one that's flawless coming up here pretty soon. Anyway, we are back. Thanks for everybody welcoming us in the chat. Cody, tell us what is going on.
Okay, well, first of all, I thought maybe we could...
Is it happening?
Well, first of all, I was thinking, did you have a good Thanksgiving? Did you have a good week? We've been off for a week. Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone in the chat.
Yeah, we're doing the
Thank
radio
you for being
small
here.
talk. Okay, cool.
Small talk, just, we can jump right into it, I guess, we're on a timer. Anyways, news from a few days ago, but this is the first time we've been able to get together and do something like this for you guys in the past few days. I'll just get into some of the news. It's a little bit interesting, and we'll get into some more beyond that. So, this is from November 30th, so about 3 days ago now, or 4 days ago. Andrew Yang reportedly named in a New York City mayoral poll, fueling speculation he may run on a third-party line in 2021. Some interesting stuff in here. I want to go through all of it and then talk about some older news as well. So they have some of the bullet points here, kind of interesting. So, a new poll shows that Yang... Skip over that one. Yang was said to be listed in an online poll gauging enthusiasm for a third-party candidate in the Big Apple in 2021. He reportedly appeared alongside 10 other candidates expected to compete in the Democratic primary to succeed Mayor Bill de Blasio. Hope they get further into it because it was really interesting. I think the Politico article has that. Let me grab that for you guys. It's the same one. What's interesting is, here we go. The poll did not indicate it was being conducted on Yang's behalf, the person said, but several questions focused on his potential candidacy, something his team said he was weighing as recently as last month. Others asked respondents to gauge a nameless candidate whose description closely matched Yang's profile. So this is the interesting thing. The poll specifically tested one's viability as an independent candidate, which would allow Yang to skip the crowded primary and spend more time raising funds for a general election next November. Because something else interesting about the upcoming Democratic primary for the New York City poll, New York City mayoral race, is that it will be the first time ever there will be a ranked choice voting system in the primary.
Yeah.
And you have a bunch of people fighting to replace de Blasio in this new ranked choice voting, which I believe, I'll pull another article up for you guys in a second.
So that's confirmed it's going to be ranked choice voting.
Yes, but while it's confirmed, I think they're still trying to figure out exactly, and this primary is in June of next year, I think.
Yeah.
Or April maybe. They're still trying to figure out how they're going to implement it, and I'll go into that. But one thing that was funny about this poll was that nowhere did it describe, here we go. It just described Yang as somebody who, I'll read the whole thing for you. The person who provided the information to Politico asked not to be named, but said he understood the poll to be exploring Yang's viability both in the Democratic primary and as an independent candidate, but they're very seriously considering an independent candidacy. The respondent is a Democrat who already supports someone else. So another clue, the survey was testing a Yang mayoral bid. It asked respondents about specific policies he's championed, such as providing people a monthly cash payment of $1,000 a month, a central theme for UBI. It also described him in an outline of an unnamed candidate. This was funny. A political outsider, an entrepreneur, a nonprofit leader, and more specifically, the 2012 recipient of Obama's Champion of Change Award. That's pretty specific. I mean,
the only thing they were missing was Asian.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's a what if an Asian American?
He founded a business nonprofit called. He currently runs Humanity Forward. Like, that is hilarious.
Okay.
Clue. Was there any other person running for president? I thought that was really funny.
That is pretty hilarious.
But again, the interesting thing about this, I want to get back and show you guys, is the fact that this would let him skip the 2021 Democratic primary for that. And I want to make sure I can pull it up. So here we go. So this is from the Gotham Gazette. So I want to read through how they're planning of doing this. So this is an article from August 28th. This is what, in this hypothetical scenario, where Yang did poll pretty favorably. I guess I'll go back and show you guys the results. But he polled fairly favorably as this unnamed 2012 recipient of Obama's Champion of Change Award. But he polled very well like that. But what would he be skipping if he were to go independent as a Democrat? So let's go through some of this. So the New York City Board of Elections last week delivered a city charter mandated report to Mayor Bill de Blasio and the City Council on how it will implement a new voting method known as ranked choice voting in the 2021 municipal elections. So specifically, what we're talking about here, the primary for the mayor. So I want to go, Here we go. So, model on systems used in a handful of cities throughout the United States, ranked choice voting allows voters to select more than one candidate, ranking them by order of preference. If no candidate has a majority of first choice votes in the initial counting, the candidate with the fewest is eliminated, and their ballots are redistributed according to the voter's second preference. A process that then continues until a winner crosses the 50% threshold. So, this seems to be what they're proposing, and that seems to be pretty basic what we get across the board. So, yeah, I'm going to be skipping a primary of that. And that's the gist of it. I just want to touch on that. There's a bunch of other stuff I can get into later, but the gist of it is this poll came out flouting the idea of not only Andrew Yang potentially being running for mayor of New York City, but the idea of him running as an independent. Specifically, maybe not specifically to skip this primary, but in part skipping what would be a crowded, very crowded primary with ranked choice voting existing.
Yeah. Man, ranked choice voting, it's interesting. The conservative side of me is worried about drastic change because not Thomas Jefferson, Kennedy, JFK said, every major piece of legislation always has, quote, unintended consequences. So I'm almost kind of wondering and dubious what would the unintended consequences of ranked choice voting be. But, I mean, we've talked about some really good aspects of ranked choice voting and how it would avoid some major pitfalls like the ones we have here in California with the jungle primary system, and stuff like that. So
the top two primary, right?
Yeah, the top two primary system, which is just bogus.
Why do they call it the jungle primary? It sounds so much more ridiculous, and it's just the top two.
More like
it's just top
bloodthirsty.
two, regardless regardless of Democrat, Republican, Independent. Who cares?
It does make it sound like
we could have two Green Party people on the ballot technically with this primary system. Correct?
Yeah. Well, and also the way it's been pitched to me, and I've kind of studied it out in my mind, is really, I think, more well-rounded qualities that and personality types that might be slightly more reserved yet still powerful intellectually. I could see them excelling. For example, like Tulsi Gabbard would not be the eliminated pariah that she is, rejected from the Republican Party because she's a Democrat, and then rejected from the Democrat Party because she didn't toe the, Hillary Clinton line or whatever. Somebody like Tulsi Gabbard, somebody like Andrew Yang, somebody like many of these people that we all kind of wish had more positions of power, I could see their personality types that might be turned off by politics as it were right now, actually excelling in a better system of ranked choice voting. So I'm curious to see how it works out with New York. But here's the problem. New York has the California problem. We saw the value of changing our IDs into being real IDs years ago. But California could never update its system, so it got waiver after waiver after extension until finally 12 years after the law was passed, they've been forced to make their real IDs, right? What about New York has showed that their bureaucracy can actually implement anything? Like, I just don't think ranked choice voting is going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen in New York because they're impossible at executing anything except for a fine and arresting somebody.
Okay. Ranked choice voting is very, very similar to how like MVPs are voted on in the NBA.
No, I know how private institutions use it.
What I'm saying is it's very similar, and you know what generally happens in the NBA? Generally speaking, the person who's the best and you think is going to win the MVP wins the MVP. They generally get the most first place votes, and in this kind of system, the number one votes, the first place votes, they are very important. Sometimes you'll see instances, and I understand that this isn't the same thing, but what I'm saying is this system does allow for more flexibility, candidates to get higher profile on the ballot, more or less. There's the times where maybe there's too many extremes, so everybody's second choice wins. But for the most part, you're not going to have that much crazy variance. Yeah. It's not going to be like reinventing the wheel. The only thing is, in a primary system like this, for the mayor, I mean, dude, you saw the 20 people primarying for Democratic primary for president, right? Well, mayor of the city is a lot, smaller pool of people, but it's a lot more open. A lot more people feel like they should and could run for mayor. I don't know. I think it's interesting. Now, I want to get into a super chat really quick. Oh, from Prodi. Thank you, man. Said Jesse Ventura suggested giving voters the option of voting for none of the above.
That's
I love
boy.
that. I love
That's
that
your boy.
idea. I think it's one of the best. Well, you know why? Because there's the joke that didn't vote would win every year. Now, I think this year didn't vote actually would be closer to losing because a lot of people voted. Yeah. But it would be interesting to literally see like didn't vote on the ballot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Or just literally have a measurable quantifier.
Because then you could say
of
I
the
voted, but like I voted. It's okay. You know what it is? You know you could vote in protest.
How
Isn't that a thing? You could like vote, and then they like a vote. I'm voting in protest, or
Well, I was about to say, for me, it would be nice to have a measurable quantifier that shows the populace's dissatisfaction with current leadership, and that look, we are willing to vote. That we're not just non-voters. That we actually want to participate in the system, but we think you all suck. You know, and I think that could be very valuable, and you could almost measure the success of a state and their ability to, you know, there would all of a sudden all these measurements coming out. You know how you always see these articles of the top 20 cities to retire in. Oh, the safest cities in the United States of America. I grew up in what was supposedly the fourth safest city in the United States of America. You know, according to FBI statistics, so on and so forth. You know that would quickly become a statistic. What city has the least amount of people voting none of the above? And it would probably correlate with some kind of happiness index that's already out there. So yeah, I actually think adding none of the above would be an amazing opportunity for the American people and drastically improve our society, but it wouldn't necessarily improve the lot of Republicans or Democrats. So probably will never get implemented. Am I turning cynical like you, Cody?
I don't know. Maybe not. Hold on. I want to go through a few more things on this really quickly.
And then we got another super chat.
Just about the veracity of Yang. I hope I used the right word there. Actually running for mayor. Now, this is an interview from October, late October. From what was the interview with? It was with Andrew Yang, and I believe it is Zach Grumman, I think. No, I think Zach Grumman was the interview. Sorry, it was an interview in the Capitol press room with Zach Grumman. I apologize. Anyway, he said that we haven't ruled anything out in reference to Yang running for mayor of New York City. I think the polling numbers that Andrew Yang for mayor of New York are very, very compelling. In March, he said that the job was something he would take a long look at, told that to the New York Times, and we're going to look at something like that in a second. But anyway, I just wanted to show that there is a little bit of, it hasn't been written off. However, I also do believe that people in New York City aren't looking at him as being someone who is in the mix. I have an article that I wanted to, I guess, here we go. I'll just skim through it. This is City and State New York, the Mayor 2020 contenders, 21 contenders. And I'm just going to go through quickly. Bunch of names. None of them are Andrew Yang. My only point being a bunch of people are already expressing actual interest and are actually getting ready to do this and aren't just, saying, I don't know, we haven't ruled it out yet. So keep that in mind. That's where we're at with Andrew Yang actually running for mayor. But now I want to fast forward. Let's go back to the hypothetical, right?
Yeah.
Back to hypothetical word. Yang is mayor of New York City. Let's say he does want to run. Let's say he does run. And let's say he's chance to win. All those things, those are all ifs, by the way. Big ifs. But let's say. Interesting article. They referenced it in that one piece, New York Times. This goes back to April 29th of 2020. Does Andrew Yang want to be New York's post-coronavirus mayor? First of all, mayor takes over November of next year. So maybe post-coronavirus. The ex-presidential candidate has boosted his profile, giving money to Bronx residents and starting a podcast and an anti-discrimination campaign. I don't like how they're like, he ran for president and then he started the podcast. Like, it's a steep drop. But they go, I'm not going to go through the whole article, but they just go through the idea of Andrew Yang running for mayor. But the reason I wanted to bring it up is because it's April 29th, 2020. Now, whoever would take over as mayor of New York City, right?
Yeah.
They would probably, have to deal with what coronavirus has done to the city. And I just thought it was kind of fascinating that article is published. That article published today in the Gothamist, New York City local publication. Coronavirus updates. New York City's virus positivity rates hits the highest level in 6 months, which coincidentally would be going right around back to when they were talking about would Andrew Yang want to be the post-coronavirus mayor? Because it's interesting. I mean, New York City's having a lot of economic problems. It's going to, with just the economy across the country being locked down. That's what I want to get into. It's one thing to say, would he be interested? Would it be something? Let's just hypothetically move forward. Say Andrew Yang was interested and he won. Do you think he'd be? Now, I definitely think with his platform, he'd be more uniquely set up to be the mayor of New York City now.
Well, in an urban environment,
tough.
UBI.
This would be tough. You're picking up a mess. You're taking De Blasio's mess on, no matter who wins. And I wonder how you think he'd fare with that.
Oh, I think he would explode because first off, what better situation to inherit than a mess? So if your efforts don't fix it, it was already a mess. But if they do something, it's only up from here, right? But also, all of the study that you and I put into UBI, Cody, showed that it was a cure for so many ailments. One of the first things I think of is homelessness, for example. Homelessness is one of the first things that you can just see as a citizen, whether it's on the rise or on the decline. Here in Los Angeles, we know that it's on the rise because every single freaking overpass is overflowing with homeless people now. And it was not that way 10 years ago. So any Tom, Dick, or Harry that lives in Los Angeles knows that our leadership is failing us due to the poll that gets done every morning that I try and get on the 405. And there's 15 tents there, and I'm dodging people who are literally urinating on the spot that I just parked in. Okay. So if he goes in and he pulls a UBI, do you remember the candidate from New York that we interviewed who was really interesting because he gave an example of how UBI would help homeless people because we average spending $200 to about $2,400 a month on the average homeless person in New York City. Whereas if we would just literally give them a universal basic income of $2,000 a month, we would net a savings of $400 a month. Each homeless person would cost us $1,600 less a year or whatever the math comes out to be.
I mean, just beyond that a little bit, though, I just mean, strictly speaking, Andrew Yang and his economic mind for the businesses of New York City.
I'm saying, so you'd have a bunch of social issues that would be helped by universal basic income going away. But then think how many of these businesses would have survived with UBI and are not willing to start back up again without it. But if told, you know what, dude, open your bodega again. But we know it got screwed, open it again. But this time we're going to blow some wind into your sails and we're going to hook you up with a UBI. I can't give you some crazy grant. I'm not going to indent my city, with X, Y, or Z loans from the U.S. government. But we're going to blow those winds in your sail. The guy that ran the startup nonprofit could start up the city.
Before we get too far into that, this isn't a startup. New York City's economic woes or whatever they are go back hundreds of years, right? Like this economy hasn't stopped and restarted. Like he's taking over New York City. It wasn't the richest city before.
You don't think coronavirus with the mass exodus of the rich that has been is not basically effectively a massive reset of their economy?
No, but I don't think it is in a way where you take it isn't a bad way. I don't think Yang would be able to walk into that economy and just say, all right, cool, I'm going to just do a UBI. I'm just going to start taxing these companies. Companies might just leave the city. Do you see what I mean? It's tougher on a city scale when things are going bad. You take over a wealthy city when things are going bad. I don't think anybody that's
still there can leave.
But dude, I mean, when you miss that point,
they're at a point.
This isn't a perfect situation. He's going to be walking into COVID might be gone right by next November. I don't know, hopefully, but there's going to be a lot of other things he's dealing with. It's not going to be as simple as I could just immediately start launching massive UBI programs. The city, I don't think could afford that. But I mean, just to get back to a little bit the pre-hypothetical, I thought this was funny. I didn't pull this up before. Is look at the odds though. Right now in the predicted market, he is the second highest odds actually to be elected mayor of New York City in 2020.
Wow.
But seriously, dude, by 2021, I mean, New York City's economy is going to be really struggling, dude. Everyone is probably from the COVID, but I mean, in de Blasio's on his way out, I don't think he's too interested in really handing the city off in a better state that he found it.
Oh, if there is ever a name that is going to live in infamy in New York City for incompetence, it's going to be Bill de Blasio.
That's what I mean. Someone's got to pick that mess up. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
De Blasio didn't just leave behind coffers you can use to do a bunch of programs with. Yeah. It's you haven't seen The Wire, but it's kind of like that season in The Wire where the guy runs on one thing, gets elected mayor, and well, yeah, but the city's bankrupt. We have no money. It's cool you said all this stuff. That happens all the time in real life where someone gets elected and doing all this stuff. When you get elected, it's yeah, but we have no money. We can't do it. I mean, we can look at some recent stuff, but it's not good looking. He's not taking over a thriving, healthy, massive metropolitan that's super wealthy with all this excess money to spend.
Yeah, but also here's one thing that I think he really has going for him. Actually two things that I can think of right off the bat. First off, the trust factor. New York City does not trust its mayor. They don't. Half of them know that he hates them, and the other half that is supposed to be his base has had a front row seat to what his incompetence has done. So he's hated. Andrew Yang does not carry that baggage with him. Okay? He's not hated by the NYPD who turns their back when he walks through the room right now. he's not hated by any union person that got absolutely roughed up, or somebody in the teachers union that thinks he didn't give him enough money, or their grandmother was killed because he was putting him back in nursing homes with Andrew Cuomo and so on and so forth. So I think just the fact that he would go into an environment where all of his relationships are new, for lack of a better term, I think could be really good. Now, here's something he has going against him. I lived in New York for 2 years, and New Yorkers are a different breed. They're definitely you're not a New Yorker until you've lived here for 10 years.
Okay, but
and I don't know if he would be welcomed as a liberator.
Outside of that, I'm just saying, hypothetically, if you want to, like, the city is taking over. I'm reading this correctly, right? You lived in New York City, like you said.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the MTA again?
The MTA is the Metro Transit Authority.
Okay, well, they're preparing to go in additional, by the way, an additional $3 billion in debt to the Federal Reserve. Just the public transit of a city alone. They were taking over the mayoralship stewardship. Like, my point is the outside stuff aside, like, this would be the kind of city where you ain't gonna have to roll up his sleeves and have to fix the economy for anything else.
But see, the thing that's so great about that scenario,
you have to work towards some of this stuff first. The city's in trouble.
Cody, he's the only guy up on that platform that anybody actually believes would do that. Except for maybe Tulsi Gabbard. But Nobody thinks Joe Biden's going to roll up his sleeves. He's tripping over his dog.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, whoever wins the mayoralship, it's going to be tough, right? Like,
I'm not doubting that it's going to be tough.
You're not going to be able to win the mayoralship of the city and just kind of start doing what you want to do. I mean, like, I can go through the whole article, but I think the fact that the buses and the subway are going $3 billion in debt to the Federal Reserve as recently as November of this year, that's pretty bad, man. Like, maybe there's someone in chat can tell me why I'm wrong, actually, and it's a good thing, or it's not that bad, but that sounds really bad.
Yeah.
Listen to this. We used to say accruing more debt was the worst thing the MTA could do because it just kicks the can down the road, said the Riders Alliance spokesman Danny Pearlstein. But at this point, we have to kick the can down the road because the alternative is the MTA doomsday cut, which will slash revenue, doom the city to an economic depression, and deprive essential workers of a lifeline they need. Like, dude, that's the city you're taking over, where it's like, we literally know we're just kicking the can down the road, but we literally have to.
Yeah, but Trump took over the freaking worst economy known to man.
Yeah, the worst economy known to man, America
in your
in
adult lifetime.
Dude, it wasn't the worst economy. Was it the strongest American economy of all time? No. Was it the worst economy known to man? No. The worst economy ever? No. It's better than 2008. You could say it wasn't as better as it should have been. It should have been more better. Should have been even greater. But it was improved.
I'm gonna hit 2 super chats
from literally what happened in my lifetime. So I don't understand.
So Joshua Hurst says, do you think Andrew Yang's name recognition and national profile would benefit him in a ranked choice vote? Oh, of course it would. It would have to. I don't think there's any way.
Help. I don't know if it puts him over the edge though, right?
Yeah, you're right. That's actually a really good point. It depends on how you categorize the word help. So yeah, thank you very much, Joshua Her. I see you, Elder. Thanks a lot for that super chat. And then also, Adam Duffy says, hey guys, how's it going? I dig the lighting. Well, why thank you. We're trying different colors here. You can tell I got the new gel for, oh gosh, what would you call this color, Cody? It's kind of like orangish or
burnt orange.
Yeah, burnt orange. So we're trying that out to see if they like it.
I was like Longhorns color. What do the Longhorns call it now?
Yeah, I can see that. So thank you very much for noticing. We do work hard on the set. I did notice that I accidentally flipped around your box light too, and I didn't notice that until we started, Cody. So you got a big blank box light in your photo.
But then just one last, I want to go through the last hypothetical of this.
Hit it.
Let's say Yang does get elected mayor of New York City. Let's say he does it, man. He gets UBI done through the city. He fixes everything. The city's running great. And he wants to run for president of the United States of America again, right?
Yeah.
Let's do a little brief trip down memory lane really quickly. Now, Michael Bloomberg, he thought he should be president. I was the mayor of New York City. Well, he dropped out and endorsed Joe Biden March of this year, right? Bill de Blasio also this year. He thought he should be president. He was amazed. The current mayor of New York City, abandoning his city, really, like Pete Buttigieg, right? Well, he dropped out as well. He dropped out September of last year, right?
Yeah.
And then you had one of the highest profile mayors in the history of New York City, a man who's probably still more famous than the current mayor of New York City, who ran for president, the hero of 9/11, so to speak. Giuliani ran.
Yeah.
2008. And he dropped out and endorsed ultimately John McCain, who went on to have a more competitive race, I think, than Mitt Romney, but not very competitive race than Barack Obama. Saying is, the idea of it being the stepping stone to presidency, I also kind of wonder at. Now, you could say Giuliani, de Blasio, and Bloomberg are bad examples, but they're also the last three. I mean, yeah, Yang, if he did the impossible, but also, say what you want about Giuliani now. In 2008, people looked at him differently, and he was like America's hero in 2001. I mean, like, you want to talk about like a mayor who like had like extenuating circumstances beyond just being mayor of the city. People did like him a lot at one point. It's changed now, but people at one point loved the guy. Not everyone, but they was like America's mayor. Love is a strong word, but you know what I mean? Like, if you told someone to name a mayor, they would probably know their own mayor and then him. He was like the celebrity mayor, I guess. And he couldn't beat John McCain in the primary.
Yeah. And this is so interesting, though, because historically, Cody, mayor of New York has been perceived as a launching pad to the presidency.
Oh, I'm sure.
If you look at, I'm just going to Google this right now, how many mayors of New York became presidents, then let's see what, I'm sure there's probably an article written on this. But yeah, here's the list of the mayors of New York City. And then the ones that became president. I mean, it's. I think even Teddy Roosevelt.
But again, like how many of those pictures are in black and white?
Exactly. No, it's definitely a trend that kind of seems to have been similar to the Iowa trend. You know, it used to be that Iowa predicted the success of everything, and apparently, this will be the first year, or only the third time in 120 years that the bellwether state may or may not have predicted the president of the United States of America.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Remember how Ohio went totally for Trump before Biden stole the election? So,
Jesus. There's also, like, I like a lot of people who just insist, like, they're the bellwethers before. They will be forever. I don't know. Maybe this election
maybe it's
showed
not a
that
bellwether anymore.
They're not the bellwethers anymore. Yeah. Like, a lot of people just overlook that one. Like, these are weird. It doesn't happen normally. Yeah, I know. Maybe, like, moving forward, things will happen more like this. And it'll just be like, they happen differently now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway. I guess that's all like the stuff I wanted to go through. Just the idea that I do think taking over as mayor of New York City would be a pretty overwhelmingly difficult job. Not impossible, but COVID's going to have ravaged the city, man. I mean, just the medical and like death tolls on top of the economic tolls, top of whatever's going on nationally. I mean, it's going to be tough to be the mayor of that city. I mean, my larger point is you're going to walk in and have to fight fires for probably a year straight. Before you can do anything you want to do, it's going to be this, and this need to be fixing. This needs fixing, this needs fixing. We have empty buildings here. These buildings people are squatting in empty buildings and lighting them on fire. We're having fires. Like, there's going to be literal fires you're putting out probably. I mean, like, it's not going to be the kind of thing where you just do whatever you want.
If Biden steals this election and Donald Trump starts his TV show.
Steals the election. That already happened.
Well, Trump then might run for mayor of New York because he's going to be there, you know, and he's got something to do. So what if it was Andrew Yang versus Donald Trump for the mayor of New York, man?
I don't think Donald Trump would want to run for mayor of New York.
You're right. I don't think so either. But, you know, somebody brought it up in chat, and I thought it'd be really kind of funny.
Wants to go from president to mayor.
No, you can retire at that point.
Even like W going for like governor of Texas would feel like a stretch to me. It's like, I could see that a little bit. I could see a president maybe becoming like a governor of their state, just kind of like, hey, you know, I want to steward.
Like a retirement gig.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Hey, you know what? A lot of guys who retire would be younger than either Trump or Biden. You know what? Not W.
Although actually,
but a lot of people would do. Like, imagine if Obama was just the governor of Illinois for like 6 years. He would be considerably younger than Joe Biden and Donald Trump are, right? Like, it's not that old for an ex-president. He was a younger president, but still, you know.
You know, that to me actually would be a really healthy leadership model, Cody, because, you know, when I was serving my mission, it was always generally thought that, you know, you became district leader when you've been in the mission for 6 months, and at 12 months you became zone leader. And then if you were really good, you got upgraded, so on and so forth. And if you were one of the better missionaries, you'd end your mission as an AP, which was an assistant to the president, right? Well, what they figured out later on was instead of getting guys who are about to go home, you know what I'm saying? It might be trunky or might be thinking about home first. They should get guys that are right in the middle. So instead of having your leadership look like this, Cody, where it just went up and then finally ended like a triangle, they tried to make it a bell curve where At 3 months in, they'd make you district leader. Then at 8 months in, they make you zone leader, and then you became assistant to the president right in the middle of your mission when you're the most focused, when you've got everything figured out, and then you went down. Then you started teaching other people on your way out how to be a zone leader, how to be a district leader, and then finally, how to be a trainer, or a senior companion, or whatever. So that all of those life lessons that you learned while a president were actually given to all the future upcoming leaders on the way down. So maybe we should consider that as a country. We got the dark horse duo who's already saying that we need to draft people to the presidency. What if we tried to get some of the more younger people that become president? What if part of it was we tried to establish a norm of you then being a governor later and then finally just being a mayor. You ended your political career as a mayor. You know what I'm saying? The guy that used to be president is now the mayor. That'd be totally awesome. Let me see. Adam Duffy says, my brother got sent home from Vietnam because of COVID just as he became AP. Ooh, rough. Okay, so Adam Duffy knows exactly what I'm talking about. And had a brother serving in Vietnam. Excellent. That's kind of cool. When you first said that, I was like, wow, a brother serving in Vietnam. And I was thinking, is 72 or something like that. But anyway, yeah, rock on. That wouldn't be so bad, but obviously I don't see that happening anytime soon. So it's kind of a moot point. Your thoughts, Cody?
On what exactly?
On if you actually think that could work. Starting to I think what if we started drafting governors out of ex-presidents?
No.
You don't think so?
You have to want it. It's just that simple. I just think it'd be interesting to see if somebody wanted to do that. If somebody retired and then, or got out of the White House. I honestly don't see Obama as an Illinois guy. You know what I mean? Dude, George W. Bush used to sit right behind home plate at Texas Rangers games all the time. He felt like a guy that was in Texas, close to Texas. I'm trying to think of some other ones. There's some people you think of. I don't really think of Bill Clinton being, what is he, Kentucky, right? Or is it Arkansas? Or is he from, I don't really see him being like that. Joe Biden, if Joe Biden wasn't 97, I could see him maybe after being president being the governor of Delaware, right?
Yeah.
But it's just not possible, really. But it depends on the person, right? Some politicians you really think of as being related to their state. Others, not so much. And as you get older, you probably do become more of a DC elite, and it's harder. But that's one thing I'll say. W felt like a Texas guy, so it was Arkansas. That's what I figured with Clinton. But yeah, W was Texas through and through. I just got that vibe out of him. If you get that kind of vibe out of someone, they could be cool. If not, I don't know, man.
Okay, so we got two questions here. Sly Cactus mentions that he recently saw The Good Shepherd and that it was interesting. I hear that was actually one of the most historically accurate movies ever made concerning the formation of the intelligence industry and so on and so forth. And then Tamarilla is asking, hey, whatever happened to the movie channel? We haven't given up. Actually, we were just working on the movie channel yesterday, covering some Super 8s and old serials. You know what I'm saying? So it did take a back seat to other projects for a couple of months there, so we hadn't had a chance to work on it. But we were literally just working on it last night. So thank you for asking. We'll have details on that forthcoming.
Dude, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, dude. There's some stuff about the... I don't want to get... I can't help it.
You can't... Hit it.
Why did Robert De Niro direct a movie about the founding and formation of the CIA?
Because he's probably part of it, dog.
I don't think he's
and he
part
wanted
of the,
to control the narrative.
Part of the CIA. It's just weird to me. It's just weird to me. Robert De Niro is big up on how the CIA is founded and directed a movie about it.
Well, I thought he just read the script and he was enthusiastic about it. I thought that was the story of how The Good Shepherd got made. Was that he just thought it was a really good script.
I'm sure he just thought it was a great script. He's I don't even know what the CIA is. It's just such a great story.
Okay. Here it is.
Anyway.
I think this is another one.
But you don't have to be born in the state. I get Bush was born in Texas, but he's just a Texas. He just branded himself as Texas. I could see himself want to be the governor of Texas.
Well, I think
I don't see governor of Arkansas being something Bill Clinton cared about after being president.
Yeah, I think that was also one of your boy Alex Jones's good prophecies. Though I think he said, if I remember correctly, 15 years before Epstein got convicted, he totally had Epstein in his radar and the whole, island thing and so on and so forth. I also think didn't your boy Alex Jones say that The Good Shepherd was one of the most historically accurate films he ever saw?
I don't know. I didn't know that.
I think that was on the Joe Rogan interview, the last Joe Rogan interview that he did. When he was with the other kind of funny. So
even weirder
guy.
than even weirder.
They talked about.
Isn't that even weirder than that? Like weird conspiracy people are like, no, yeah, that's like what the CIA's like. Yeah. It's like Robert De Niro directed. I don't know, man. That just comes across to me as weird. Yeah, an interesting question here from In40234. What's up, dude? So would you rather have Yang run for the New York City mayor or the New York governor? Would you rather them go for Cuomo's spot or de Blasio's spot?
I would say Cuomo's spot.
Honestly, it's basically the same thing, right? Like you're the governor of New York City and some rural counties, right? Like, well,
I mean, but to me, running for governor is less disingenuous. If he ran as a New Yorker, he's not a New Yorker. He grew up in upstate. He's a suburban kid, and New Yorkers, I think, would view that as carpetbagging.
New York City people.
You know,
I
don't think. I think he underestimates.
They really are like that bodega tweet, aren't they? It's really how New York City people are, aren't they?
Yeah, seriously. In fact, one of the best quotes I ever heard about New Yorkers said, deep down in his heart, every New Yorker thinks, why on earth would you live in any other city? You know what I'm saying? When they hear somebody else live somewhere else, they say, why on earth? And so New Yorkers have
Meanwhile, you live in New York City. It's the funniest thing to me. It's like the place everyone's like, jeez, it's such disgusting and gross and expensive. Why would anyone want to be there? And New York City people are just like, oh my God, how could anyone not live here? That's life, huh? That's life.
Yeah. I'm looking up this.
No, you saw the tweet. Someone put a tweet out. Like, where do people who live outside of New York City go to get like chips and like toilet paper and candy if you don't have bodegas? It's like, I don't know, like 7-Eleven or Rite Aid and CVS. Like it's just like they're just like the no world exists. That's what I mean. Does anyone even want to be in charge of all those people? I don't know. I think governor also makes more sense though, just because it's a more serious position. I feel like mayor is, I don't know. I feel like Cuomo can override de Blasio whenever the hell he wants, right? Just the relationship between the governor of New York and the mayor of New York City definitely feels like it's a one-way street from the governor down to the mayor, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. I for some reason just feel that's a tough one. I just feel like it would be less disingenuous of a campaign if all of a sudden he ran. Actually, it would be not at all disingenuous. It would be to me it would be more fitting to run for governor than mayor, and also to a certain extent, I think it might be slightly more influential because. Governor, it's a higher ranking office. It's a little more prestigious. And, you know, you're not inheriting an MTA that's, $3.4 billion in debt or something. I don't know. It just seems, it seems to me like the influence would be bigger. You know what I'm saying? Although that is kind of bragging rights, mayor of New York. I don't know. There's kind of a flashiness to it. Mayor of Los Angeles, mayor of New York, and mayor of Chicago are still kind of really well-known positions. But I think a lot of those old ways of looking and ranking people are really starting to atrophy. You know what I'm saying? I think people view Chicago as a failed state at this point. New York is not half as cool as it was 50 years ago. And Los Angeles, I mean, people are... Los Angeles still has some.
But didn't this happen in the 70s? In the 70s, didn't all the big cities lose a bunch of people? They went to the suburbs and they came back in like the 90s and 2000s. Like it's like that. It's like a cycle with cities. Like a bunch of people move in, and then people are like, you know what, living in cities kind of sucks, and everyone moves out. Yeah. And then they're like, you know what, it'd be kind of cool to live in a city. And everyone moves into the city. It's like, this sucks, and everyone moves out.
Yeah.
It was like a natural ebb and flow a little bit, right?
There definitely is a cyclical nature to all kinds of migrations in between the suburbs, rural areas, and the city. However, what New York is seeing right now is so artificial, so crazy. I don't see how this city recovers for a really, really long time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that's the truth. I'm not that myself. I just think to your point of that though. Is that the kind of thing you want Andrew Yang to take over? Honestly, I think Andrew Yang, my final takeaway, Andrew Yang should run like hell away from mayor of New York City. I think it'd be a bad move. I think you know what? He'd sell a bunch of books and get a show on CNN afterwards, but I don't think it's going to help him politically. Now, if he wants to sell a bunch of books to get a show on CNN, honestly, probably the best move is Mayor of New York City. But if he wants to like seriously like further his kind of political ambitions, Mayor of New York City kind of feels like a dead end right now a little bit. It's like an impossible job. The city's a mess. You're going to get blamed for everything. You're going to look like a clown in the stooge no matter what you do. You're going to have groups fighting you from all over the place in the city no matter what you support. Yeah, but this is the Democrat Party.
You can only fail up, dude.
Come on, for mayor.
Joe Biden can't brag about anything for his 47 years there, and he might steal this presidency. Kamala Harris lost to Andrew Yang. Kamala Harris lost to Andrew Yang in her home state.
Yeah, well, she
was less popular than Andrew motherfreaking Yang in her home state, and now she might end up being our VP. The only people credible on that stage were Andrew Yang, who's getting his mic shut off, you know what I'm saying, and Tulsi Gabbard, who's like persona non grata now. So I don't know. I almost think that the person that fails the hardest is going to rise the fastest in the Democrat Party. I mean, that's the reward structure so far that I've seen.
But okay, sure, you can just be like, Democrats sucks or whatever, it must be good for them. But like, I don't know, man. I feel like it's going to be a tough job to take over. I feel like the things Yang wants to do, he's not going to be able to do on the small scale of like New York City. It's weird. Someone has to like, you're going to need somebody who just loves New York City and wants to see the city back on its feet. I don't think someone that has aspirations outside of that could take that job. As someone who doesn't live in New York City at all, I just feel like that seems like from 1,000 miles away. It looks like a crazy difficult job, and it looks like the kind of job for somebody who just wants to focus on New York City. That's why I think it's interesting them floating Yang's name. I'm sure he probably could even win if he ran. If he put his stuff together, he could win. I just feel like, yeah, dude, it's going to be like tough to get by that. Like that's a really tough thing to move your career on from, unless he just somehow fixes the city, turns it around in 2021. So like 6 years would be 2027, and then that'd be gearing up for a 2028 run, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Could something like that happen? I don't know. I mean, it would be down the line. Like, obviously, if he were to win any election in the short term, that would have him running for president down the line. But I don't know, man. Like, he'd have to do a lot. And even then, people have Giuliani did a lot, but by 2008 standards, he'd done a lot as the mayor, and he couldn't beat John McCain in a primary. So Andrew Yang would have to probably do a lot. I think when you go to people in Iowa, when you go to people in California even, when you go to people in Texas, when you go to people in Florida, when you go to people in Ohio, when you go to people in Pennsylvania and say, I was the former mayor of New York City, I don't think they really care.
Yeah, okay.
When you go to Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona, it's like, I was the former mayor of New York City. I feel like they're like, and I don't care.
Yeah, it's definitely a nor'eastern thing, and I also think that's why historically it's been a much bigger launching pad to the presidency than it is in the modern day. Because, for example, do you think being mayor of New York helped build de Blasio? No. I don't think that really.
Bill de Blasio, no.
Look, it got his name out there. I mean, people know who he is, but if you're an abject failure at it, then it's not going to help you. You have to be good at it. Anyway, Adam Duffy's got a super chat for us. Says, did you all see the email? Oh, you just passed it. Or there are two. There's multiples.
There you go.
Okay. Emerald Miner, thank you very much. Says, started doing DoorDash as supplemental income. So I feel much more economically secure. So here's $5. Hey, thanks a lot, Emerald Miner. And yeah, so glad that you could get that second gig and keep working. We fought that good fight here in California. They tried to outlaw it, actually.
We'll see. We'll see what the end result of that is. And then Adam Duffy, I did not get that email. It's I'll check again. I'm not sure when you sent it, but the email is I'm putting it in chat right now.
All right.
So I didn't get it, but there are all kinds of reasons. If you want to just resend to the email, that would be great.
So somebody in the chat said they grew up in Throgs Neck. You ever heard of Throgs Neck, New York?
No.
It's actually kind of cool. It's this part of town in the Bronx that has this big old bridge that goes over to Long Island.
Oh, wow. Called it's a city with a bridge.
Neck. And so, no, but I always thought that name was cool, and I remember seeing that on maps. You know, Throgs Neck. Wasn't there an old movie called Throg, Cody? I feel like when I'm looking up Super 8s for our Super 8 channel and stuff like that, I always see a movie called Throg. Yeah, Throg. Here it is. Throg
I'm sure
film.
Throg exists. Yeah, but
It's like this like crazy Belgian Congo looking kind of like that movie Congo. Yeah, Throg. Okay, cool. Sweet.
very good.
So I always wonder where the word Throg's neck came from because it's like frog and Thor together. Anyway, keep going. I digress.
Not much more. I mean, that was pretty much it. Wrapping up again, like I think gangs should run like hell from New York City mayor. I think it's interesting they're floating around these polls. Someone's floating around polls asking if you'd vote for the 2012 recipient of the Obama Champion of Change Award, which is pretty specific to when to not name Yang and talk about him, right? Someone's asking this stuff. I think it's interesting. I just think Yang should run from it. I think whatever his aspirations are, unless he just is one of those people, one of those quite frankly, douchey New Yorkers who just loves New York City and is like, New York City is the greatest thing ever. I have to be. I think aside from that, it's not good for your reputation.
Yeah. Obviously it's not our choice. It's his, but it does make me wonder what Andrew Yang's next step is going to be. Because it seems like too much talent to go to waste in a time where we are in desperate need, absolute desperate need of good leadership. So we want to encourage somebody that has potential to keep going, but you do wonder, like, where is it actually going to do any good and how will it do the most good for the most amount of people? And I don't know, I still maintain that as much as we think it would be cool that he run for mayor of New York, that's because we view it as like, oh, okay, cool, good for his publicity, or, good as a stepping stone to X, Y, or Z thing, because we're looking at the career of Andrew Yang and the idea of UBI. But that's not what New Yorkers who are going to the ballot box are thinking. They're not thinking about Andrew Yang's career. They're not thinking about the career of UBI. As AOC very wisely said, and she does not get enough credit for this comment needs to be on loop on her Twitter profile so people understand. She said, people vote for me because it's a vote to survive. They feel like they're trying to survive. And unless Andrew Yang could really make an effective argument that his mayorship or mayoral candidate, or whatever the word is, him being mayor, shall I say, unless he can make the effective pitch that him being mayor is going to help them survive, and not just survive, but thrive, I don't think he actually could win. It is not 100% a popularity contest, and it's not 100% money, as evidenced by who? Tom Steyer and your boy, ex-mayor of New York, Bloomberg.
Yeah.
So it's not an issue that you can throw enough name recognition at, or else plenty of others would have won. It's not a problem that you can throw enough money at, or else Tom Steyer and Michael Bloomberg would have won. It is a magical equation, okay? An algorithm that not all of us understand completely. But in New York City, I don't think people should underestimate how much being an actual New Yorker matters there. You know what I'm saying? And since he does not come across as a New Yorker, I don't think in a debate where a guy says, you're not even from here. You know what I'm saying? I don't see how you could overcome that carpetbagger slur that they would absolutely throw all over you. That makes sense, Cody?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You have anything else you want to say, brother?
No, just to update really quickly. This is Wikipedia, but this is pretty much as far as the officials go. Someone asked, so I was going to show it. As far as cabinet goes, Joe Biden's cabinet's not all the way filled out yet. You can see there is a lot of stuff that has not actually been announced yet. So we're still waiting. I'm not holding my breath at all. I've never thought that Andrew Yang was going to be on Joe Biden's cabinet. Still don't. So I'm not really holding my breath. But no, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, especially you look at a lot of stuff like Secretary of Commerce, which is something that he was looked at as potentially being looked at for. And then even you can look at something down here at the administrator of the Small Business Administration, right? But none of those will be named yet. All we know about is terrible people like John Kerry are coming back. Can't believe John Kerry's coming back, man. But hey, John Kerry's coming back. We get more John Kerry.
Gosh. When Ronald Reagan said the closest thing to eternal life that we get is a government bureaucracy, I think the closest thing we get to an eternal angel of that eternal life is John Kerry. Like, he's literally been around before me, and I have a feeling we'll be in office after I die. You know what I'm saying?
He's got a pretty decent resume. Check it out. Secretary of State Hey, he was the Secretary of State from 2013 to 2017. Anything happened between 2013 and 2017? Jesus, man. Senator from Massachusetts for almost 20 years. He was the nominee and he lost to W. Bush when W. Bush didn't need help to win. And the Lieutenant Governor of Massachusetts for a couple years. Man, dude, it's Secretary of State from 2013 and 2017. Whole lot of nonsense happened between those years. That's a tough time to have been the Secretary of State of the United States.
So we got Adam Duffy once again reminding everybody to drop a dislike or a like, whichever one you like, and Sly Cactus following it up, saying hit that like or dislike. I dare you. Awesome. Thank you very much for the reminder, guys. And yes, it does help us out. And the last thing I would have to say, warmongers, all of them. Warmongers, all of them. There's not a person in that cabinet that would not triple the drone strikes right now just so that their buddies could make money in defense contracts. That's my only criticism, and that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Warmongers, every last one of them. Ironically, John Kerry made his bones initially testifying in the Senate against the Vietnam War. You know what I'm saying? But that was before he got swift-boated. So, yeah,
Right,
we'll
cool.
see how that goes. Anyway.
That's all I got to. So take care, everyone. We will probably be streaming hopefully before Monday, but at least on Monday. So have a great weekend.
Yep, everybody. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. This is Problem Solver Politics. We will see you guys in the next